I found that each person is born a potential genius. Fully 95% of the population have the ability to function at genius levels. That means an especially creative mind. And by the time we become adults, our levels of creative intelligence have dropped deep into our subconscious mind where we don't use it. And then most people start to go through their lives automatically and without any creativity at all. Fortunately, this creativity is still within you. It is a natural part of your mind and your thinking process. Everybody here is potentially extremely creative. The more trust you have in your superconscious mind, the faster it works for you. And the more calm and confident you absolutely believe that something will show up, something will be fine, the most amazing thing is that something happens. And the more you practice with it and the more confidence you have, the faster it works for you. Pretty soon it gets to the point where you can think a thing and realize it very, very quickly. You can think, I used to do this when I was first understood this, when long distance charges were very high back in the 80s, is I would visualize a person I needed to talk to on the other side of the country and they would phone me. And I could do this over and over again. Rather than me phoning them for 30 or 60 minutes, I'd visualize and they'd phone me. I just put it into the superconscious mind and I say, he or she will call by 11:30. By 11:30, the phone rings. And do this over and over again. And the more confidence you have that it will work, the more rapidly it works for you. It takes a lot of confidence at the beginning, but that's all it takes. It doesn't cost any money. It merely requires a step of faith, a mental step of faith. I told you this before, but this attitude of confidently expecting great things to happen is the catalyst. It's almost like the ether in the air that causes the superconscious mind to activate even faster. So when you confidently expect that your goals will be reached, your problem will be solved, that everything will be well, when you confidently expect it, it just seems to come into reality. And the more it happens, the more you believe it. The more you believe it, the better and faster it works. And there are many people who just get into tuning, almost like you get onto a beam when you're landing a plane. They get onto the beam of their superconscious mind, and they just stay on that beam, and they just do what feels right all the time. And they never make another mistake. And they make more progress in a few weeks or a few months than many people who are all over the place make in years, if they make any progress at all. The highest paid work in America is thinking. And the wonderful thing is that you are knowledge workers. You are knowledge workers. So you're at the front of the line. Is that the highest paid work in America is thinking because of what? And it's because of one of my favorite words, and you need to think of this word for the rest of your career. The word is the word consequences. Because you can always tell the value of something by the consequences of doing it or not doing it. Now, you know this because you have invested an enormous amount of time and effort to develop your skills in copy, in advertising, internet marketing, and so on. You realize you're one of the 5%, the elite, that realizes the way that you improve your future is by getting more knowledge and skill in the present, investing the time and the hours and the money to learn the things, because the consequences of learning these critical skills and then getting better and better at them can be extraordinary. They can make all the difference between you having a wonderful life, living in a beautiful home, having money in the bank, retiring with a happy retirement for the rest of your life, or worrying about money all your life. So consequences are important. So thinking is the most highest paid skill of all. And the quality of your thinking determines the quality of your life. If you want to improve the quality of your life, you improve the quality of your thinking. You always ask yourself, what is the worst possible outcome of this course of action? And can I survive it if it were to occur? And if not, what can I do to make sure it doesn't happen? One of the number one reasons that we worry about anything in life is because of fear. And when you ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen in this particular situation? And then if you can say, all right, if that happens, I'll live with it. Then your worry goes away and your mind goes clear and calm. And now you say, now what can I do to make sure that the worst does not happen? And then you become proactive and you take charge of your life. The third thinking tool, I hope I'm not going too fast for you. The third thinking tool is called the principle of constraints. And it's one of the most important thinking tools ever discovered. It says between you and anything that you want to accomplish, there's always a constraint, a limiting factor, or a choke point that sets the speed at which you accomplish your goal. So I was just doing a teleconference a few minutes ago. So the question I said is, let's always set the goal of doubling our income. We want to double your income. Okay, want to double your income. Then why isn't your income already twice as high? Now in business, we don't think of doubling our income, we think of doubling our profitability. What we're concerned with is net cash flow. We're concerned with the amount that we take home to our family at the end of the day. Not the gross, but the triple net. So we say, if I want to earn twice as much, and everybody in here can and will earn 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much sometime in the future. If I want to earn twice as much, why aren't I already earning twice as much? And the number one reason for most people is distraction. So they're so distracted, they're doing things of low or no consequences. But we found the 80-20 rule applies to constraints. 80% of the constraints that are holding you back from achieving your financial goals are within yourself and within your business. They are not on the outside. They are not the competition. They are not the market. They are not the people in Washington or the taxes or regulation. 80% are within yourself. So the mark of the superior person is whenever they have a problem, they say, what is it in me that's causing this problem? Mike and I know this very, very clearly. What is it in me that's causing this problem? In illness, by the way, 85% of illness is psychosomatic. As Dennis Waitley said, it's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you that's causing the problem. And so the starting point, and the first thing a doctor will tell you, or a psychologist, is what is it that you're not dealing with? And you can go back to zero-based thinking. What is it that you have in your life that if you had to do over, you wouldn't do it? So ask yourself what's holding you back, and usually it's the quality of self-discipline or it's a skill. Now, one of the things that changed my life forever was when I learned that all business skills are learnable. You don't have to be a genius to learn any business skill. You can learn any form of technology, as Mike has proven that with his products. You can take a person who's basically shoveling shoe polish in Shabokin and teach them how to be technologically superior enough to earn a living from it. Every business skill is learnable. And so I say, what one skill, if you are absolutely excellent at it in your business, would help you the most to double your income? What one business skill? If you could wave a magic wand and wake up tomorrow morning superb in this area, what skill would it be? And you know, when you ask that question, everybody knows the answer. They know what it is. But here's the challenge. You don't like the skill because it involves rejection, embarrassment, ego, potential failure, loss. You've tried it in the past. You haven't been good at it. But nobody asked you what would be an easy skill to learn. They just asked you what skill would help you the most to double your income. And here's what we have found is that most of us are only one skill away from doubling our income. And all business skills are learnable. And if you study the people who go from the top to the bottom in the Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000, they found in 25 years of research, these people learn one skill at a time. Like climbing the ladder of success and the ladder of income, like sniper, one shot, one kill. They don't try to learn 50 skills. They learn the one skill, focus, the most important skill, and they get their company focusing on the one skill. When you're totally focused on the problem, suddenly ideas pop out. And that's why the very first thing you do when you have a problem is to write down every detail of the problem. When you have a goal, you write down every single thing you could think of that would help you to achieve the goal. And the more you write, 10, 20, 30 things, the more likely it is that something will pop off the page. You hadn't even thought of it, or you may have thought about it years ago and suddenly it's there again. You may have pulled it out from deep in your memory and suddenly, and that's the key. That's what will make this work. So therefore, concentrate 100%. No television, no radio, no anything else. Best with classical music, always concentrating and writing out lists of everything you could do to solve the problem or achieve the goal. And the other time is when you are concentrating 0%, when your mind is busy elsewhere. So if you have not been able to solve the goal by focusing on it single-mindedly, then walk away. Scientists do this all the time, by the way. In scientific work, there are 4 stages. The first stage is, I think it's itemization. The second stage is concentration. The third stage is relaxation. And the fourth stage is realization. Is what happens is there's a stage in life where you walk away from it and don't think about it at all and let it brew. What is the word that I'm looking for? It's called, it's a word for it, where you just sort of let it stew in your mind while you're busy doing something else. And at a certain point, the idea pops into your mind. This is taught, by the way, in all scientific schools, is you focus on the subject single-mindedly and then walk away from it and just let it go. And at a certain point, wow, the idea comes in. Go take a vacation, go for a sleep, take a nap, go for a walk, take the weekend off, get completely rested. It's called cerebration. That's the word, not celebration, but cerebration is where you let all the details kind of stew in your mind and bang up against each other until they knock off the spark of the right answer. So cerebration. When you're working for a solution too, very often the solution will come at exactly the right moment for you, but it is time dated. You must act immediately. When you get a solution, let us say that you think of a goal, and the first thing that pops into your mind is phone so-and-so and ask him or her about this. And so when you get that, do it immediately. Sometimes you'll pick up the phone and call immediately, and they say, I'm glad you called. I was just leaving for the airport. I'm going to be in Europe for a month, and out of contact. And if you had called them an hour later, they'd have already been gone, and you wouldn't have been able to get through to them. Today, of course, you can with cell phones and get through to anybody. But the point is, when you get the idea, move quickly, because it's time dated. And sometimes it's dated only for a few minutes. And sometimes when you're driving down the street, you get an idea to turn off because you see a traffic jam ahead. Turn off now. You just don't wait and say, well, I'll get there and see how many cars there are. Remember, Barbara and I were coming back from up in Riverside, and we were driving along, and the traffic seemed to be slowing. It was on the freeway, 5:15. The traffic seemed to be slowing, and I noticed this pickup truck with four-wheel drive, and this pickup truck had slowed down and turned and went right up the side of the dirt embankment onto the road. He just went up the side, and I think, boy, that guy is really aggressive. And then I saw all the cars, and I turned off immediately too. Because I was far enough back, I could turn off and just go up the off-ramp and took a parallel freeway. I learned later that there had been an oil tanker that had turned over down. I kept driving on this side of the road, this side of the freeway, until I finally saw there were no cars. The cars were packed like a parking lot for 15 miles. An oil tanker had turned over, and it blocked the traffic, and people were stuck for 5 hours. They were stuck for the entire day. And I kept driving until I could see the freeway was empty, and it was empty, baby. And then I finally got back on and drove home. But when you get an instinct like that, move quickly on your instincts. Trust your instincts. Trust that intuition and move quickly on it, because it's time dated. All right? Now, number 11, it will bring you the experiences you need to be successful. I've talked about this many times. It'll bring you the lessons you need to be successful. It'll bring you the experiences, and we learn 10 times more from a failure experience than from a success experience. So here is a lesson. If you are going through, or you have been through, a failure experience, let us say a temporary failure experience, take a piece of paper and write at the top of the page, what have I learned from this experience? Or what lessons have I learned from this experience? Whether it's business or personal or relationships or selling or anything else, and then write down everything you learned. And you'll be astonished at how much you have learned that if you don't write it down, you won't remember, and you'll have a tendency to repeat. As they say, what does they say is wisdom is when you make the same mistake you made in the past because you forgot to write it down. But what happens is when you write down everything you've learned from your negative experience, you program that in, and you'll be astonished at how many lessons you can get from one setback. I've gotten as many as 10, 20 lessons from one major mistake or difficulty in business. You just write it down, and then you review it, and you underline it. Then I have it typed so I can review it again. Every so often, when I have my investment type list, I've got about 30 lessons that I learned about investment. What to do in order to make a good investment or to avoid a bad investment. And I look at these lessons and I go, oh my God, how could I be so dumb? But it's that learning from experience that makes it possible that you will succeed greatly later on. If you don't learn from the experience, then you'll just make the same mistakes over and over. So it'll bring you the experiences. So when you get a setback or a difficulty, you say, aha, this has been sent to me to help me achieve my biggest goal. I wonder what the lesson is that I meant to learn in this experience. And my promise to you is if you look into every experience for a lesson, you'll always find at least one. And sometimes the lesson you'll find will be priceless and it will change your life forever. But you don't find it if you're not looking for it. So you've got to look for it. Don't turn on the TV and have a drink and say, whoa, life's a bitch, and then you die. You know, what you do is you say, hey, now that I'm tuned into the superconscious mind, this superconscious mind is working 24 hours a day to bring me to my goals and bring my goals to me. And therefore, if I've had a setback or a difficulty, it's part of the plan. That's what we called yesterday being an inverse paranoid. We have been absolutely convinced that the world is conspiring to make you successful. Leadership is the ability to get results, but it's also the ability to allocate resources, which means it's the ability to make decisions and to make hard decisions. Because if it were easy decisions, everybody would be a leader and everybody would be rich. So making decisions using thinking, slow thinking, using long-term thinking, is the critical job of the leader. Drucker says, the first job of the leader is to ask what results are expected of me. And then I add to that, of all the results that are expected of you as a leader, what is the most important result that you need to get to achieve the sales and profitability for which you are responsible? One of the rules what we learn in business, we never complain about anybody or anything in our business because we're the boss. We're the ones who decided this. We don't complain about your staff because you hire the person. If you don't like the person, get rid of them. Don't complain about them. You just sound like an idiot. The most amazing thing that you found throughout your life is that when you make a decision, that wonderful quote that Cam quotes, when you make a decision, nature moves too. All manner of things begin to happen that would not have happened in the absence of the decision. So very often you'll make a decision either to get in or get out, either to do it or not do it, to make a commitment or walk away. And that commitment suddenly triggers a whole series of activities and actions like dominoes. They just start to click. You get phone calls and you get letters and you get emails and all kinds of things begin to happen immediately after you make a very clear decision, which means that you set a very clear goal. And writing the goal down, as we say, is very powerful. So make a decision that you're going to do or not do something, and then take the first step. Make the decision and take the first step. Jesus said, faith without acts is dead. Now, what does that mean? Is you can make all the decisions in the world, but they're meaningless decisions unless you take the first step. And when you take the first step, it triggers everything. Suddenly you get feedback and actions and motivation and ideas when you take the first step. So make a decision and take the first step. And then you can make course corrections. You get feedback which enable you to make course corrections on the way to your goal. Nothing great in life happens without commitment. Once you've made a decision, put your whole heart into making the decision come true. 80% of the reason why you're not achieving your goal is inside yourself. It has nothing to do with outside factors. It's all inside yourself. The number one reason there is usually that you have not decided to achieve the goal. You wish to achieve the goal. You hope you can achieve the goal. You fantasize about achieving your goal, doubling your income, but you have not made a decision. Because if you make a decision, it's immediately followed by action and continuous action all day, every day to achieve the goal. So if you're not taking continuous action, it means that you have not yet decided to achieve the goal. Now, it may be something else. It may be poor time management. I've had many friends come through my seminars who've tripled their income in 30, 60, or 90 days simply by using good time management skills. Maybe it's lack of self-discipline. That's a major weakness in world life today. We know we should do it, but we cannot discipline ourselves to do it. So we procrastinate and we put it off until maybe tomorrow or maybe next week or maybe next year or maybe never. So lack of self-discipline is what is inside ourselves and it holds us back. However, self-discipline is a habit that you can learn by practice. It's perhaps the most important habit of all for success is to make a decision to do something and then have the discipline to follow through and work on that every single day. So those are the first three keys: clarity about your goals, competence, becoming very good at what you need to do to achieve your goals, and the third thing is constraints or problems that are holding you back. Now, what is it that top people think about most of the time? They think about how to achieve their goals. They think about how to become excellent. They think about how to solve their problems. They're always thinking about how. They're always thinking positively and constructively and in terms of actions that they can take to achieve their goals. Now here's the good news. When you think about your goals and how to achieve them, it makes you happy. So people who are thinking about their goals are happy most of the time. They're more positive. They're more creative. They have better friendships. They have more energy. They get up earlier and they work harder because they have clarity about what they want.